So the other night, I had a chance to watch two short films from Pedro Almodovar. Almodovar, I hope I'm saying that right. I watched a video where he was talking about pronouncing his name, so hopefully I said it right. Now, I've recently just started getting into his filmography, and I will make a separate video talking about his stuff because I think he's really fucking cool. I really do enjoy his films. But I was very intrigued about Strange Way of Life with Ethan Hawke and Pedro Pascal because it's a short film, but it seemed so much bigger than a short film. I guess if that makes sense. And the funny thing is I was the only person in the theater, and there was an older couple there. I don't know if they were actually expecting to be a part of the movie that they were a part of, but they ended up leaving right before the Human Voice played. Which the Human Voice, they ended up playing that right after The Strange Way of Life, which I thought was really cool because there was another theater that was going to do the same thing, and I was going to go to that one, but the showtime was a little bit too early. So it was a nice treat because I hadn't seen that one before. I actually got the DVD for it, I think actually that day. But yeah, so I ended up watching both of them, and I'm going to talk about both of them because I enjoyed them, but I do have thoughts. Now, before I get into it, I will say I did watch When Evil Lurks, and I'm going to make a video about that this weekend because I really want to talk about that film because I enjoyed it a lot. But let's talk about the Human Voice and the Strange Way of Life. So I'm going to talk about the Human Voice first because that was the one that I liked the least compared to the two. Again, I'm saying the least compared to the two. But it stars Tilda Swinton, and it's really cool because you sort of just get to see her interact with herself, but you also get to see her interact with somebody that she's talking to over her earphones. And I found that to be really interesting because she's having this conversation with someone that you cannot hear, that you cannot see, but it's so engaging. And it's not done in a simple manner where the camera's just completely on her and then you sort of get to see her talk to the person, over the earphones. You really do get to see her go around the location, do her thing, and sort of watch the story progress that way. And I will say it had a pretty interesting ending, but at the same time, compared to The Strange Way of Life, it was a little bit slow. And again, I'm comparing short films to the rest of his films, but I feel like Pedro has this very vast vision where everything that he does has his staple on it. That's one thing that I've noticed. And I don't know. I like the Human Voice, but compared to his other stuff, it's very different compared to his other stuff. He does have that same aesthetic that he usually does, um, but I liked it. I did like it. Let's talk about The Strange Way of Life. Now, Pedro Almodovar, his films that I've watched, a lot of them do have LGBT. I wouldn't even say undertones. I would say sometimes they are very straightforward depending on what it's about. And that's one thing that I appreciate really about his filmography because he really does have this very distinct view on it. And I remember seeing Tarantino talk about him and saying how his filmography would be the one to beat. And I can't help but sort of think the reason why something like that would be said is because of how strong Pedro Almodovar's just style is. But The Strange Way of Life, and again, I'm not a reviewer, I just do discussions, but I really enjoyed it because it was almost, if you had to almost do a flat line for it or a censor for it, it starts off like this, and then it goes like this, kind of, and then it goes like this, and then it kind of goes like this, and then it goes like this, and then it goes back down again, if that makes sense. I really enjoyed how it encapsulated basically so many themes, but yet this very intense relationship with the past, with a history in just 32 minutes. I thought it was impressive. I enjoyed it. And honestly, I felt like it was weird because whenever I went on Google, it said it was an hour and 21 minutes. So I didn't know if it was just completely expanded into a full feature. I guess it wasn't. I guess it was just maybe a hiccup or something. But I would love to see The Strange Way of Life into a full feature. And I don't know if there's more footage included in it, but I would love to see maybe an hour and a half version of it because I really enjoyed the dynamic between Ethan Hawke and Pedro Pascal and sort of the story that was there, which I don't want to spoil it because I actually didn't know what was going on in it. because I knew that it was going to be their two characters sort of reflecting on the past to an extent, but I had no idea where the narrative was going to go, and I had no idea what the situation was. So that was something that I really appreciated. But overall, I had a great time at the theater. Um, I wasn't expecting the double feature, and I've been dying to talk about Pedro Almodóvar because his films, they're cool as shit. I mean, if you guys get a chance to check his films out, definitely check them out. I watched Parallel Mothers not long ago, and I had a good time with it. But I've also checked out more of his films. But again, I'll probably do like maybe a top 10 or something talking about his filmography. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a thumbs up and maybe subscribe. Also, if you guys want to check out our Pesadilla teaser, definitely check that out. It's actually funny because Pesadilla, the title Hispanic, Pedro Almodóvar. But anyway, see you guys next time. Take it easy.